Hi, this is Jenn Iacopucci, and I'm a member of the Circuit Breaker team. I am going to walk you through in this training module how to claim in-district services on your Circuit Breaker claim. If you have viewed our other training that was available during relief period, we have revamped how you enter services on a new placement for a student. So I'm going to walk you through that. And I'm also going to review my most exciting thing about the claim this year is that now you can clone services from prior year forward. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. I am going to move very quickly through this training on the claim system, so I highly recommend that you go back to our other training modules. We have training modules specifically outlining how to navigate the claim, how to add placements, how to look for students, and those kinds of things. I am only walking you through right now how to add in-district services to a student. The first thing that you want to keep in mind so you see on the screen, I have the claim. I'm on the home page for the claim. The first thing you want to keep in mind with in-district services is if you're claiming extended year services for the student, you want to make sure that you have created a summer program, and we have a separate module on that. But I'm going to click this button at the top of the screen that says Create Summer Program to show you the summer programs we've already created in our fictional district of Pawnee. And you'll see here we have two programs, one for the June dates and one for the summer program that started in July of 2025. I'm going to be using this summer fun program as part of one of my examples, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. It's important that these are already in the system before you go to add your claim for these services, because what the system is going to do is validate the information that you put in the claim matches the information for the summer program that you pick. So for example, when I add my services for summer fun, it's validating that I'm not claiming more than 33 days. I'm not claiming more than 20 hours a week. There's a validation that's built into the system for that. We have a separate training on how to enter these programs, and you'll see it on our list of training modules. But if you click this button right here, creating in-district summer programs, it'll bring you to that training. So moving along, I'm going to start by adding a student that was not claimed before. I've already moved him up on the claim. We have a separate training on how to get students on the claim, so I recommend you go back to that. The student I'm looking at is Harry Potter. And we see Harry has no adjusted cost for tuition. He has no transportation cost. He has nothing. We're starting from scratch with Harry. We see when we look at his student details, there's no cost associated with him. So we need to add a placement. We go to the placements button, and you'll see here there's several different types of placements you can enter. We're focusing on in-district placements only, but I want to bring one thing to your attention. When you're looking at these other placements in this list, private approved, individual student program, and so on, you'll see over on the right side, the names of the placements are highlighted in blue. If you click any of these buttons, it will bring you to the training on how to enter these placements. If you click this in-district button, you'll be brought to this training that I'm recording now. If you press this private approved program, it'll bring you to the private approved program training. So we're focusing just on in-district. So I'm going to click this button here. And since Harry was not claimed before, it's bringing us right to the information on entering his IEP. I have his IEP open over here. And for simplicity purposes only, this IEP was developed from 7/1/2025 to 6/30/2026. It's just to get this information in and show you how to enter it. We know at your district, your IEPs aren't this straightforward. You could have multiple placements for a student depending on start date, end dates, amendments, and so on. But this is only to show you how to enter the services for the school year and for the extended school year. So here's Harry's IEP. We have the school year services on the first grid. This is now the new IEP that we're looking at, and we see all the services are from September 1st, 2025 through 6/20/2026 for 180 days. You want to pay attention to your start and end dates when you're looking at your IEPs because we know sometimes services could end, new service could start within the same year. So please pay attention to that. When we scroll down further, we get to the extended year services, which are now on their own grid in the new IEP. So we'll be entering these services here. And I just want to, and then we have services that are in the additional information page. I kind of bolded them and highlighted them here so that it brought it to our attention. And we see that this IEP was signed on July 5th of 2025. So we're going to hop back over to the claim and we're going to enter this information. The IEP starts on 7/1/2025. Oops. And it ends on 6/30/2026. And the IEP was signed on 7/5/2025. And you will have to enter this every time you enter an in-district placement. We ask for this information of the IEP start date and end date and the signature date so that if we have questions or we're there on an audit, we're able to track down where this information came from that you entered. I'm going to start with the school year since that's the first page that's on this IEP. So we're going to do the school year placement and we said it started. Sorry, I don't want to get you dizzy. The first day of school is 9/1. Okay, we'll just use that. 9/1 to 6/20. It's probably not valid, but that's okay. And it's 180 days and it's 5 days a week. You should use the start and end date at your school for your school calendar. And now we click next and we move on to the next screen. So if you looked at the other training, this looks very different than that. In the first year of CHAMP, we asked for the services based on A, what service did you have in A grid? Then you entered them. What services did you have in B grid? Then you entered them. What services did you have in C grid? You entered them in additional information. This is very different. This is asking you for all your services, grids A, B, and C. And what we think this will be a lot easier is because you'll be able to just go down the line of the services on the IEP and verify what was delivered and enter those services one by one by one by one by one and just go right down. In the old system, if you had the same service in the same grid and a different group type, you had to enter everything, then go back and edit to add it. You do not have to do that anymore. And I have an example of that in this example. So I'm going to start with the A grid and I'm going to try not to flick back and forth. But we see in the A grid, we have special education teaching 1 hour a month, OT 15 minutes, 0.25 per cycle, and the AAC providers 9 hours a year. So let's hop back over here. I'm going to enter the A grid services. We'll go back and forth, A, B, C. We see special education teacher, the A grid. The frequency is monthly, and it's 1 hour, and it's individual. Now I'm going to the next one. I'm clicking this add button, and it adds another service for me. The next one is the OT, and you see if I start typing, it brings down the drop down and I'm able to get right in there. I mean, you could scroll through all the services, but this makes things a lot easier. And the OT is 0.25. Oops, I'm sorry. We're asking for the cycle first. Now it's 0.25. I have it written on my notes backwards. That's individual. Next, we're adding the AAC. I just typed AAC and it came right up. It's in grid A and the frequency is yearly, school year, and it's 9 hours and it's individual. So now we have the A grid services added. Let's take a look at what's in our B grid. It's the LPN for 2 hours a day. So now I don't need to worry about, do I need to go B, C? Nope, I'm just going to press add right here. LPN. It's in grid B, so this is where we differentiate our grids is in this section. The frequency is daily and it's 2 hours, and this is individual. Now we're done with B grid. Now we're going to move on to C. C is a little bit more interesting. We have ABA 4 hours individual, ABA 2 hours small group. The old way, you wouldn't be able to enter both of these at the same time. We're going to be able to do that today, which is great. You have OT 0.5, a half hour on a 5-day cycle, individual, special education teacher, 1.5 hours a week, individual, and BCBA at home with the parent 2 hours a month, individual, obviously. So let's start entering these C grid services. The first one is the ABA, and I'm just typing that up. We've moved on to grid C, and the frequency is daily, and it's 4 hours, and this is individual. Now we have the small group ABA. We're doing next. And you'll see I'm just scrolling right up and down through all these services. You could have, 30 services here if that's what your IEP called for. We're in the C grid, and the frequency here is 2 hours a day, and this one is small group. And now I'm going to have this service delivery group type small group. And you see, I have the ABA 4 hours individual, and now I have the ABA 2 hours small group. Moving on. Now we have the OT. This is in the C grid. And the frequency is per cycle. And it's 0.5. And this was individual. One thing I want to mention that I forgot to mention is you see I have multiple different frequencies here. I have monthly, I have yearly, I have cycle, I have daily. The system is going to convert for you what the calculation should be for these services. You no longer have to do any kind of conversion. You may have to do a conversion if you have per grading period, per marking period, or quarterly, or there's some odd ones that we see out there. If you don't have, if you have a cycle that's outside of any of these that I'm dropping down right here, reach out to us and we will help you. Well, I guess quarterly is here. Marking period could be the one that we never know because some districts have 4 periods, some districts have 3. So we'll work with you on that. How to convert it, we'll probably try to get it down to a weekly or a daily conversion for you, and we'd have you enter it that way. But everything should be converting for you, basically, and I'll show you how that works once we're done entering. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to mention real quick is, and I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, I was so excited to jump into this, is you'll see there's comments here. We're not asking you to comment on every service that you're entering here. We only want you to give us a comment if it's a unique circumstance. And a unique circumstance could be that, it's written in the IEP per grading period. You worked with Jen, and this is what Jen told you to enter. That could be a unique circumstance. Or you could be prompted based on the hours that you're entering per line. You could get a note from the system that says, please explain why you're claiming this. And we have different validations built in here, and I don't want to go over all of them. I can give you an example. Say you had this 9 hours school year, but you accidentally selected daily. It would say, oh no, you can't claim 9 hours a day. School's not operating for 9 hours a day. Please, fix it or give us an explanation. There's a couple different scenarios in here that would prompt you to give us a comment. So we're really only asking for comments to explain unique circumstances, and if you get a red text message that says you need to provide a comment. So it's here, but we don't need to use it unless you think it's absolutely necessary. Okay, so we stopped at the OT. Now we're going to move on to the special education teacher. And I just love that we can just start typing and it fills it up for us. And this is in the C grid. This is weekly. And this is the 1.5 hours a week individual. And now we're moving to the BCBA. We're just going to click add. And this is the C grid, the parent, the home training with the 2 hours a month at home. So monthly, 2, and individual. So now we're done. We've entered the A, B, and C services. This is all this page is asking for. Let me just scroll to the top real quick, and it's saying IEP grids A, B, and C. If you have services in the additional information, that's recorded on the next screen. And that says that in this verbiage here. So we have A, B, and C recorded. We see all these services. We've double checked our group types. We've double checked these services have actually been delivered. We're ready to move on. We do next. Now we're on the additional information. You should see a button that says skip here at some point. But if not, you'd have to enter services here. So if we go back to our IEP for additional services, we see BCBA is consulting with the parents 9 hours a year. So we want to add the BCBA. This is yearly, 9 hours, and this is individual because it's the BCBA and the parents only. And you'll see here, most of the time in the additional information, we may see the individual ABA or the individual aid, but a lot of times we see team consultation outlined in the additional information. If you have consultation in the additional information, you want to make sure you click this button that says consultation, because what that's doing is it's adding it to the services that you've claimed in the A grid, and it's not looking at it as direct service to the student. And that's important because when we're looking at our validations and we're looking at how long a school day is, we're looking at the direct service provided to the student, and we're not looking at the consultation. So you want to make sure that if it's team meeting or it's a consultation, like in this case, the BCBA is consulting with the parent, you want to make sure you click this consultation box. So now I'm going to click next. And here we see all the services that we entered for Harry, okay? And I want to go back to his details page. Oh, let me just refresh. Actually, let me go back to his placement now that I refreshed. And I'm going to open his placement. To see the services, what this opens is the placement details page. But to see the services, you want to click this related button. And here we see the services we added for the A grid. We see the BCBA coming under the consult, like close to the A grid, even though it says additional services because it's treating it as consultation. We see the service we added for the B, and we see all our services we added for C, including the ABA and the different group types, both in the C grid. We did not have to change that on edit, which is great. So now when I go back to Harry's student details page, I want to show you that it's now looking at, you have the total instruction that was added, all those services added up to $61,938.99. And then we have the net instructional. This is the amount that you would be, your reimbursement would be based on, because it took the 61, it subtracted off the threshold, and this net is the difference between those two. Your reimbursement would be based on this 8507. Well, actually, I'm still going to enter summer, so it'll go up a little bit more. So now let's enter his summer placement. We're going back to in district. We're going to click next. The same IEP, so we're entering this again, 7/1/2025 to 6/30/2026. And the IEP was signed on 7/5/2025. And now instead of clicking school year for the placement type, we're selecting extended school year. And now it asks me, which of these programs did Harry attend? He attended Summer Fun. So I'm selecting that. The placement start date, he's attended the entire program. So it's the start and end date of the program. If he didn't, I would adjust these dates. The number of days for this program was 33, did not include the 4th of July, and it's a 5-day cycle because it's a 5-day week. And now we start entering our services. So we have OT in the, let's go look at it. Okay, we have OT in the A grid for 15 minutes a week, and then we have a few services in the C grid, 3 hours a day of a para, an hour and a half of a special ed teacher in a small group, an ABA 5 hours per week at home, and then we still have the BCBA working with the parents in the additional information page. So let's start adding these services. First screen, A, B, and C grid only. So our first service in the A grid is OT. A, and the frequency is a week, and it's 0.25. And since it's consultation, it's individual. I do want to bring one thing to your attention when claiming summer services. When I said the system will convert for you, I just want to bring to your attention, if your summer program is running 4 days a week, you want to enter your summer program on a 4-day cycle, and then you want to select IEP cycle. When you select weekly, it's looking at the service as happening every 5 days, not based on the 4-day week that you have at your summer program. Only with summer program, not school year, because you're telling us the number of days of operation, it will automatically adjust that 4-day week to the number of days, which is why you need to select IEP cycle, not weekly. This is only for summer program. So I just want to bring that to your attention. This summer program runs 5 days a week, so the weekly works here. Now we're going to move on to the C grid, and we have the paraprofessional. It's an IEP C, grid C, and this is happening 3 hours a day. So this is daily, and this is individual. And now we have the special ed teacher, C grid. This is happening daily, 1.5 hours. Oops, 2.5, sorry about that. And this is small group. And now I have the ABA. This is in grid C. And this is weekly because this is happening at the home, 5 hours a week, individual. Great, so now that's all our services. We have the A and the 3 services in the C. We'll just click back here real quick. We have the A grid, and now we see these 3 services here. And now we're going to next. And then we have the BCBA, providing the parents home training. So I would do summer, and it's 9 hours, and it's individual. And now I'm going to select next. And now we see the services added for Harry here. I'm just going to refresh my page. And when we look at the placements for Harry, we see the school year and we see the summer placement has been added. And when we go to Harry's detail page, we now see that there's an additional amount of money in the total cost, which made the net instructional cost go up. So that's how you would enter an in-district student that was not claimed in the prior year. Now, the most excited thing that I'm excited about this year, I mean, there's a few things, but this is really exciting for me. I'm going to show you, this is Jaren. Yep. Okay, let's go back to our claim. And I'm going to enter a new student that I've already brought up on the claim from the prior year dropdown. If you looked at our other trainings, you'd know students that are on the bottom of this add students screen are students that you claimed in the prior year, and you have to tell us to bring them up by clicking this box and next we have a training that goes over all of that already. I've done that already for this student, Jaron Duran, and I want to enter placements for him for this year. So let's take a quick look at his IEP. We see that his IEP overlaps fiscal years. As I said, the Harry Potter one was simple, so I could show you how to enter those services. Most of your IEPs will be split. You'll have multiple IEP, probably more than one IEP over the fiscal year. For Jaron, we see his original IEP was written September 1st, 2024 to 12/31/2025, which means you had a placement last year that ended at the end of the school year. And now you need to enter a new placement for the beginning of this school year until when the next IEP started or was signed. So you already had a placement that you claimed that was based on these IEP services and what was delivered. So instead of re-entering all of this, you're now able to bring that placement over to this fiscal year that you entered based on this IEP and change the dates and update it to when the services started at the beginning of this year and when they ended, okay, which would be when the new IEP started or when the new IEP was signed. So we see this IEP. This was the IEP that's for the beginning of this school year. But let's see what we have on the next IEP for Jaron. So here's his next IEP, and this IEP starts January 1st of 2026 through December 31st of 2026. Does that mean does my new placement end on 12/31? You wouldn't know that until we scroll down and we look at when this IEP was signed. So this IEP was signed on 3/15, which means your IEP for the beginning of this school year would go from your first day of school, which I guess we're saying is September 1st, until March 14th, because this IEP really should not go in effect until the parents have agreed to it. So let's scroll back up. Sorry to do all this jumping around, but that signature date's important for entering this next placement. So we see this is the IEP. We know you've already claimed this as part of what you did in FY25. So I'm jumping back to the placements in the claim system. I'm selecting in district for Jaron. And now we see, we did not see the screen when we were entering Harry because Harry was a new placement. He did not have any other prior year placements. He was a new student on the claim. Because Jaron was claimed in the prior fiscal year, it's saying, wait a minute, do you want to add a new placement? And you absolutely could. You could take that IEP and enter it the same way I just showed you how to enter Harry's based on the services that were delivered. You do not have to do this, but this will make things a lot easier, I think. So you could say new placement and it would bring you through the steps that I just went through. Or you could say clone. You know you claimed this IEP already at the end of last fiscal year. So let's click clone and select next. It's saying this is the placement we found in fiscal year 25 that went through the end of the year. It's identifying that placement for you right out the gate. You could click this placement number and it will bring you to what you claimed, but it's also going to do that on the next screen too. So if I say, yes, this is the one I want to clone, it's now saying, okay, these are the services that you claimed. You claimed these A grid services, this B grid and the BA, and then C grid. You have OT, BCBA, ABA, and then it looks like special education teachers in the C grid too. I mean, we can take a quick look and we can say, yep, these are the services that I had claimed. These are the services that were still delivered. We can just select this button right here. It selects all these services. If for some reason one of these services wasn't delivered from September through March, you could just uncheck this and it wouldn't carry it over. But we're going to say, yes, these are the services. And now it's saying, okay, what's the IEP start date? Okay, let me go back to that. It's 9/1/24 to 12/31/25. So 9/1/20, oops, 24 to, oh, I already forgot. I'm sorry. 12/31/25. And it was signed on 9/5/2024. This is the school year placement, and it started on 7/9/1. Oops, I think I did 2/20/25. And it's going through to 3/14/2026 because it's based on when that next IEP was signed. Now, how many number of days is this? We ask you to count those number of days based on your school calendar. I'm going to type in 180. Oops. And it's a 5-day cycle. Going to select next. And now it's telling me you can't go over 122 days. For simplicity purposes, I'm going to make this 120 days. Now we know our next placement can't go over 60 days. So let's click next here. And now here are all the services that were cloned forward for the period September 1st to March 15th. Now, if I refresh this, we see we have some adjusted cost here for 35,000. It's not at threshold yet because we don't have the full year in. We see this placement here. If we wanted to change anything, we would be able to do that by opening this placement, clicking related, and then editing any of these services. Okay, but let's move on to adding the second part of the year. So let's scroll down here to where this IEP started on March 15th. And you'll see I highlighted where services changed from that IEP that ended on 12/31 to now the new IEP. I recommend that you do that at your district too. Highlight any services that could change. We see the AAC provider increased from 9 hours to 15, and the BCBA at home increased from 2 hours to 4 hours a month. Those are the only services that changed on this IEP. Because of that, there's an easier way, I believe, to enter this placement now. So if you go to placements, we now want to enter the rest of the school year, which would be March 16th to 6/20. We're going to select in district and next. Now you have the option here of doing one of two things. You could add a new placement, enter all the services that you see on that IEP that started on March 16th, or you could clone your existing placement from last year, FY25, which would match the services that you've already claimed from September 1st through March 15th. And then you could edit those two services that changed. That's what I'm going to do on this demonstration because I think it'll save a lot of time on your end. So I want to make sure you know how to do this and because you have this, option available to you. So we're going to clone. We're cloning the placement that we claimed in FY25. Unfortunately, you are not able to clone placements in the existing fiscal year, so you can't clone this placement 0240753. You can only clone placements for the prior fiscal year. We know we've already cloned this for the first part of the year, and there were only 2 services that changed. So why don't I clone this again and just edit those 2 services, right? So we can't edit them here. We have to create the placement and then edit them. So I'm going to bring these all forward to the new placement. I know I'm going to change the AAC and I'm going to change the BCBA. Let's see here. Let me scroll down. Now we're going to do next. In this IEP start date, which I should know, it's 1/1/2026 to 12/31. And we know it was signed on 3/15, which is why this is starting later. It's a school year placement, and we're starting this on 3/15/2026. and it's ending on 6/20/2026, and it's 60 days. Our other placement was 120. We can't exceed 180, or we'll get a validation error. We're going to click next. Oh, 316, I have to start this. Sorry about that. Was it fine, 316? Okay, we'll do 316. Sorry, I messed up my days there. Okay, now we see all those services have been brought over for this March period through June, this 60-day placement. I'm refreshing my page. You can get to your placements, in the other trainings, we show you how to get to your placements different ways. This is how I prefer to do it. I refresh, make sure it's saved, and then I go into the placement. I might be taking extra steps, but that's just me. I'm going to open up this placement that's March 16th through June 20th. On the left side, you see placement numbers. I'm just going to click that placement number. It's opening up the placement I just cloned over, and we see the details of that placement. To see the services, you want to click this related button. And we see the AAC is in here for 9 hours, but when we look at the new IEP, we see that it increased to 15 hours. So I want to make sure I claim that, right? Because I want to maximize my claim. So over to the right, where you see the service, and each service has its own placement number next to it, we're going to click that caret and edit. And it's opening up the placement related to just this service. And we see the programs, the AAC. We're going to scroll down to where the hours per frequency is, and we're changing it from 9 to 15. And now we're going to save it. And we saw once it's saved, the total cost increased a little bit. I'm going to point this out better when we go to the BCBA. So now when we look at the BCBA, we see this is 4 hours a month, but what we brought over was 2 hours a month. So we want to make sure we're maximizing our reimbursement, right? And we know this service is being delivered at 4 hours a month starting in March. We want to make sure we claim that. We see it's at 562.80 with the 2 hours a month that we brought over from the cloned placement. We're going to edit this placement, and we're going to change this from 2 to 4. And now we're going to save it. And it changed from 562 to 1125. It essentially doubled. So now the services are claimed correctly for this placement, which means next fiscal year, when you go to clone this placement, it'll be what it should be for the beginning of that school year. Let's go back to the student. And now we see the total adjusted cost for him is 53,000. And it's really only a little bit over threshold with 118, but I haven't added summer, and I'm not going to in this training since I already did that in Harry. But that's how you would keep track of what your reimbursement's based on and how to enter in district programs, whether it's new students or you're using cloned placements from the prior fiscal year. If you run into any problems with this or you have questions, please reach out to us. Once the claim cycle starts for year-end claiming, we will open up drop-in sessions that you can come in and drop in and ask us questions. We're also reachable at any time through email or phone. So please reach out to any of us at any time. And also, since I moved very quickly through this claim, I recommend that you go back and look at our other training modules. Thank you and enjoy your day.